In today's video, I'm going to talk about how I scratch built a model of this coal wharf that was located in Blairsville, Pennsylvania, in Pennsylvania Railroad's Blairsville Yard. This is on Economod Division. The coal wharf was constructed in 1918. It was a concrete structure. It had a sand house attached to the left side of it. You can see there's a sand house, and we just had J16170 taking on some sand. I'm going to back it out of the way so you can take a better look at the coal wharf. Okay, there she is. Let's to see some photographs of the original Blairsville coal wharf, and I'll talk about how I scratch built it. For the next part of this video, I'm taking the pictures off of my laptop, so you notice the little bit of a waviness. Excuse that. That's just inherent when you're trying to photograph off the laptop. But here's a photograph that was taken out of my bedroom window when I was young, and there's the Blairsville Yard, and there's the coal wharf, and there's the roundhouse. It was one of the reasons I was always enamored by the coal wharf, is because it stood as a sentinel in Blairsville Yard. I could look at it in the evening and see it. And there were floodlights on the top of the coal wharf on both sides that lit up the yard in the evening, and I could look at and watch the little bit of activity that was taking place back then. So that's one of the reasons I really wanted to model that first before I did anything. Took a lot of photographs of the coal wharf over the years. This one's late in the game, late in the 1960s, before the coal wharf was being demolished. And at that time, the coal wharf was not being used, just the sand house part to put sand in the diesels. There's the sand delivery pipe. You can see some spilled sand. There was always a lot of spilled sand around the sand house. This is a coal wharf part, and coal was gone at that time. This was the opening for the chute that took the coal into the steam locomotive tender. Here's a couple more shots of the coal wharf. This one I'm looking east. I took these in the mid-60s. This one I'm looking north. And here's a shot Ray Christopher took in the early 50s. And here you can see the coal delivery chute. Although right now the steam engine, it was taking on sand. There's a fellow up standing by the sand dome and using the sand delivery pipe to put sand in the sand dome. Back around a little over 20 years ago, I decided to model the Blairsville coal wharf. Here's my model. It was built out of styrene. It was lacking a lot of the details that my current model has, but it was kind of a fair representation of what the coal wharf looked like. I found out after several years, just looking at the locomotives in front of it on my layout, that I built it too small. I scaled it from photographs, so I thought, but it wasn't scaled properly, so it was too small. So I decided I needed to build a more accurate model. So here's a photograph of the new model being built. It's all made out of illustration board. You can see the new model on the left and the early stages of it compared to my old model. And you can see the size difference, quite a big difference in size. This is again a comparison of the two models as my new model progressed. The new model had a lot of detail that the old model was missing, including this little offset between the sand house and the coal wharf. And also included spiral stairs, a spiral staircase. Here I'm in the process of building the spiral stairs. This took some time to do properly, but I was able to find online some HO stair treads, the castings for the stair treads. Stair treads, I had to supply everything else, the railings and the center pole, but I assembled this, and it's exactly the right number of steps compared to the actual skull wharf. And here's my finished model, and it includes, you can notice the sand pipe. Where are we here? The sand pipe and the coal chute, the spiral staircase, the floodlights at the top, all the details that was on the original one and missing a lot of my first model. For most of my scratch building, I use illustration board. Illustration board is a kind of a stiff cardboard, it's white cardboard. You can buy it at Michael's in 16 by 20 inch sheets. It's about a little over 1/16 of an inch thick. It's nice and stiff, but it's very easy to cut, and it's just great for building models. And then if it needs to be covered with anything like a brick veneer or a siding veneer, it's very easy to cover too. I generally use Waller's glue to cement it together. You can use other cements, but Waller's glue works really well with this material and holds it forever. In fact, we try to take it apart. Sometimes when I've had to do that, it's very difficult to take apart. If you're going to paint the illustration board, like I did in my model of the Blairsville coal wharf, if you're going to paint it with a water-based paint, you need to first spray it with a primer, an oil-based primer of some sort, like Rust-Oleum or something like that. This is a closer look at some of the detail on the model. The sand at the bottom, which was always around at coal wharf and sand house, it was spilled when they were loading the steam locomotives. Anyway, it's made out of grout. And here's the spiral staircase on the left. The sand delivery pipe you can see coming out there. The little pipe that goes below the coal chute and up the wall was for compressed air for the sand delivery system. The pulleys you can see, railings and stairs, and just about all these parts came out of my scrapbook, all the scrap box, all the other spare parts, plastic parts, they came out of my scrap box. And here's the top with the floodlights. And there's a little hatch there that was actually on the original one. Not sure what it was for, but it was on the roof, a little hatch. For model sand on the sand house portion of my coal wharf model, I used sanded grout with polymer that I bought at Lowe's, and it's biscuit color number 14. Obviously any grout could use, as long as it's not pure white. It would be too white for typical sand that they would use on a railroad. By the way, all the little switch lamps that you see on my model, the Blairsville yard, they're not operating, but they look very much like the actual Pennsylvania Railroad switch lamps that were in the Blairsville yard. And I made those out of straight pins, the ones with the little plastic heads on them. I cut off just the head, and then I punched out little discs, painted them white and yellow, and painted the heads yellow and green on both sides to kind of mimic the switch lamps that were in the yard. By the way, here's a switch lamp of the type that was used in the Blairsville yard. These were manufactured by Adlake. This is actually a genuine Pennsylvania Railroad switch lamp. You can see the PRR symbol on it. They're lit by kerosene. Well, that's the end of this video. If you have any questions about how I constructed the coal wharf, or any comments you'd like to make, please include them below in this video, and I will answer any questions you might have. Again, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.